A lot can happen between falling in love with a house online and owning it, between imagining living there and breathing in your new home for the first time. Having an advocate who can help you navigate the complex world of financing, inspections, negotiating, analyzing the market, and talking through any anxieties that may pop up, that can make all the difference. That's what the expertise of a Realtor can do for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors and bound by a code of ethics, because that's who we are.
Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colleton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, is this Jaylon?
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, man, thank you. We good to hear from you. I appreciate you doing this. And Ed Werder is now standing by. Say hello to Jaylon, Ed.
Hello, Jaylon Smith. How are you? This is a huge get for Matt Mosley. It's really the first thing he's accomplished for the podcast. I've brought all the other esteemed guests on, but he's done this, and I'm quite impressed.
Episode 6 of the Doomsday Podcast, right here alongside Ed Werder, coming to you, Frito Nation Productions, and very proud to say Jaylon Smith now joining us. Ed, you gave me a lot of trouble saying, hey, you've booked all the big-name guests. Now I've finally reeled in a big fish like Jaylon Smith, and I think it's very appropriate as we record this week, and obviously everybody, the rest of the country, will hear this on Monday, as we always do. Jaylon, first of all, thanks for coming on. And second, how exciting was it to actually be right out there in the middle of OTAs? This may be the most anticipated OTA performance I've ever been associated with.
Oh, man, it's been wonderful. It's been lovely. You know, just being blessed to be a part of, America's team. It's just a great feeling, and definitely a long time coming. It took a lot of patience and prayer and work to get where I am. I'm just thankful.
What are your expectations, Jaylon, for what you'll do on the field over the course of the next few weeks?
I mean, honestly, it's just taking it day by day, man. It's following protocol, from everything that Jerry said, and, from the top to the bottom, we're all on the same page. We're being smart about the situation. And we're rolling. We're rolling. I'm really just looking forward to continue to dive into the system and get acclimated, with my teammates.
Physically, could you give us a sense of what improvement you've experienced in these past few months that has allowed you to now expect to be a part of things this season with the Cowboys? I
mean, in short words, it's just tremendous improvement in everything, and I'm really I'm blessed, man. I've been working so hard, and putting trust into the training staff, the strength and conditioning coaches, like everyone has played a part in my return. For number one, the Cowboys believing in me. You know what I mean? So that from the start, it's been a great ride, and it's just the beginning.
Does it ever almost amuse you to hear from these medical experts or doctors that have never seen really any of your charts or obviously didn't perform the surgery, weigh in and tell everybody what your future is going to be?
Haven't laid hands on them, like Jerry likes to say. Haven't laid hands on them, like Jaylon.
I mean, I can only control what I can control. You know what I mean? The media and, information that, that's, been out about me or experts and all of that good stuff. Like I can't control that. You know what I mean? I'm focused on I'm focused on my growth. I'm focused on becoming a better man and figuring out ways how I can get back and contribute to this great team that we have, and that's all I've done, man. God has been great. It's time.
I'm just curious, did the team do anything first day of OTAs to sort of special to bring you back in, knowing how long you've waited for this opportunity?
No, I'm just like one of the guys, man. It's a team. It's a team chemistry, growth, and I've been doing everything with the team, and it's been lovely.
Can you talk about what regaining the sensation in your foot has been like, and where you are in that regard in your recovery?
And it's been a great process just to see the improvement. It's a process, and for me, you gotta trust the season you're in. And everyone goes through different seasons in their life, and a lot of times we operate out of our season. So from the get go, when I got here, I understood that, it was going to take patience. It was going to take time and commitment, and just putting my trust into my strength and conditioning coaches, and really just sowing that seed.
Are you able to move around normally and run without a brace yet, or are you still experiencing some of the drop foot problems that you've had during the course of this injury?
I'm able to do great things, with my condition right now, and it's just a constant growth.
I think it's pretty remarkable, given the devastating injury that you suffered. The timing of the injury could probably not have been worse, and yet you talk to people who are associated with you in this comeback with the Cowboys, and they'll say they've never seen a more positive player in the years and decades that they've been around these players. How do you account for that?
I mean, a lot of it is just the way I'm raised. My mother and father did a great job at teaching me core values, but it just boils down to everyone's dealt their own hand, and it's with whatever situation I go through, it's about attacking it with a clear-eyed view. You know what I mean? Something I live by: a focused vision, a determined belief, and earned dreams. And that's something I created a couple of years ago back in college in my dorm room. Shout out to Notre Dame, Stanford Hall. I'm just so focused right now. I love my teammates. I love the coaching staff. Everyone has faith in me, and that's helped tremendously.
What was it like last year when two members of your draft class became some of the most accomplished rookies, contributed significantly to what the Cowboys achieved in turning around 4-12 to 13-3, and you didn't get to be a part of that and didn't get the reward of all the work that you were putting in, which may have been more work than, quite honestly, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott were putting in? Yeah,
man. For me, it was just really encouraging those guys every week, getting to see their growth. We all came in together, so it's been nothing but a brotherhood, and I'm so proud of what they accomplished. I wasn't shocked at all, because I know those guys. Me and Zeke, we grew up playing together. We played in the Army All-America game together. He was on the field when I got hurt. You know what I mean? So, if you go back to that game, a lot of highly talented guys in that game. With me being the best linebacker, and Zeke and Bosa and Will Fuller, all of those guys. You know what I mean? So
absolutely,
I'm very, very familiar with how unique him and Dak are. For me, it's just a support system. It was a support system, and really caring about those guys.
Did you ever talk to Jaylon Smith, Cowboys' second-round pick, who's now back in the OTAs with his teammates? A very exciting time for him, the former Notre Dame All-American. Did you ever, Jaylon, go through thinking, if I could get back to 90%, I still think I could be a really accomplished NFL player? Have you ever thought like that and tried to maybe accept a lesser athletic version, or a version of what you thought you were going to be pre-injury?
A lot of that goes around, with social media and things like that. Like, what if he's never back? What if he's never back? For me, it's about God's percent. Whatever he allows me to get to, I'm going to perform. You know what I mean? I've been blessed to play this game, and not for once did I think that, after my injury, was that going to be my last time playing. It's definitely he's given me this platform, and just taking full advantage of it, and just to for me to get hurt like that, it's made me a better person. The thing that I love about it was that it was globally seen. You know what I mean? So to be able to impact lives, and for for kids to see that, you know what I mean? When you get knocked down, it's, don't complain, just move forward, and he'll bless you.
A remarkable attitude, and obviously your injury and the timing of it coming in the bowl game so close to the moment when you would be turning pro and performing at the combine and so forth, right, has really changed how significant college players like Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette, what approach they take to those kinds of games, which are important to their colleges, but not as important to them as maintaining their health. Yeah. How did you feel about the influence you've had in that regard? You've almost made it acceptable for high-profile players to put their own careers ahead of their college teams and bowl games.
Salute to those guys. My experience is, and what I liked about people, making their decisions and to play, whether to play in the game or not play in the game, it's your own decisions. You know what I mean? You have to make that decision for you. So for me, I made the decision to play in that game, and I don't regret it at all. That's the beauty of any decision I've made. It's been my decision, and if I had the decision again, I would have played in that game. So.
But you respect those guys making the opposite decision based on what they saw happen to you, sounds like.
Absolutely. I respect them because it was their decision.
And those guys didn't play for Brian Kelly. I don't think they wanted to have, that strikes me as something that would be tough to tell Coach Kelly. Am I correct?
I mean, Coach Kelly's a great guy. I can't sit here and say if he would have understood or not, but I just know that my relationship with him is amazing. You know what I mean? And it's just, we're playing in the Fiesta Bowl, with 4 or 5 top 10 picks. You know what I mean? In that game, you know what I mean? It was a really highly anticipated game. My brother played at Ohio State. And Ohio State was my second choice. So I always wanted to, get a chance to play. And then, like I said, me and Zeke were brothers. So it was like, man, we're going to get a chance to compete with each other. Those freaks type of accidents, and injuries, they happen. But you don't go in the game thinking like, oh, man, I'm going to get hurt. I've never been hurt in my life. You know what I mean? But like I said, it was my decision, and I love it. I wouldn't change it. If I knew that I was going to get hurt and wasn't going to be a top 5 pick again, I would have literally played in that game again because of my teammates and, how much Notre Dame means to me.
Well, and because you wanted to play against the best in college football and you thought this was an opportunity to do that?
Absolutely. The love of the game. But, with those guys making their decision, I respect them 100%.
Will you have a decision to make at some point in this recovery about the insurance policy you've taken out to protect yourself against a career-ending injury, and balancing that against the player you think you'll be, given whatever your health is at the time, when you decide whether to return to the Cowboys and play pro football for the first time?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. Can you ask that again?
Yeah, I didn't either, Jaylon.
Well, I can understand why Matt doesn't understand half the things I say. So my question is this. I believe you have an insurance policy you took out to protect yourself against a career-ending injury in college, right?
An insurance policy to protect myself, absolutely.
Okay, so you have that. You can't cash that in if you prove that you're physically recovered and capable of playing football at the professional level, would be my understanding. And so my question is, what if you're not completely healthy and you have to decide, do I want to play football and believe that I can perform at this level or that I'll continue to get better? Or do I want to say, okay, I suffered a career-ending injury, I can't play, and I get X amount of millions of dollars that I am due to because of this insurance policy I took out? I guess that would kind of be my question, if that clarifies it at all.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Okay, well, I'll ask it the second way next time.
Yeah. But to answer your question, I have 100% faith that I'm going to be able to play the game of football again. So
Okay, I think Ed
that'll be good news to the insurance company, I'm sure.
Yeah, Ed was trying to tell you to go ahead and cash in this policy, but he went about it.
He would have respected me if I did as my own decision.
Yeah, well, those logistics, the policies and things like that. I mean, those are all handled between the lawyers and all of that good stuff.
Right.
We'll let them handle that out. But I am super geeked to be part of the Cowboys.
Super geeked.
Yeah, I like that. We're super geeked to have Jaylon Smith.
He's excited. Absolutely.
No, but I only ask that, Jaylon, because I've heard people say, hey, some people, who don't love the game like he does and don't want to go through all the work that he's putting in, would just cash the insurance check and get the millions of dollars and not play football. But that's clearly not what you want to do.
Well, I want to get into the contract talks of, the insurance policy, but it doesn't work how you're kind of explaining it. But like, for me, I love the game of football, and that's what I want to play.
Someday, remind me, Jaylon, we meet in person. There's a PGA golfer who did take the insurance policy, and he just disappeared. Nobody's ever seen him again. And we don't he's just on an island somewhere. So I'll tell you that story, but obviously you're going to go a different way. Now, it sounds like from listening to you, and I've read about you a lot in the past, you are a spiritual man. Did you ever have anybody, and I'm halfway serious about this because I grew up in a very spiritual family as well. Did you ever have anybody like offer, hey, I'm going to lay hands on you, or try to almost like a faith healing type situation?
Yeah, I mean, I have a very strong, support base, back at home. And, I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana, went to Catholic high school, went to Notre Dame. So very, very homebound Indiana. I'm a Hoosier. A lot of people think we don't play football out there, but we do. But a lot of prayers, a lot of faith, a lot of belief, and really just a huge excursion of what I believe in, and it's a clear-eye view, which is a focused vision, a determined belief, and earned dreams.
I want to give people a sense of what people in the NFL think Jaylon Smith is capable of. And I talked to a general manager, I'm talking about a half hour ago, Jaylon, who said he's the best linebacker I ever scouted. I had somebody else, senior personnel director for an NFL team, say he'd been a top 5 pick in any draft in the last 20 years. That's what a great prospect he is. And, Stephen Jones, I was standing on the field talking to him last season before the Detroit Lions-Cowboys game on Monday Night Football, and we were watching Zeke and Dak warm up, and I shook my head and said, wow, it's amazing what those two guys have done as rookies to contribute to this team in a very unexpected way. And he was watching you nearby running up and down the field, and he looked at you and he pointed and he said, that guy over there, he might be better than either one of the two guys you were just talking about. So it's pretty remarkable, I think, and I imagine it motivates you that the Cowboys have that view of you still.
It's lovely. Just for them to have an understanding of, what I can bring to the table. It's a blessing. It's humbling. All of this has been a humbling experience, but I'm really looking forward to contributing to this great team.
What do you think you can do this year, realistically?
Maximum potential.
That says a lot.
What does that mean, though, to someone, a layman like myself, maximum potential? You mean, kind of be out there every play, starting, all, full tilt? What are you saying when you say that?
What I'm saying when I say that is that I have 100% belief, of true success. I believe in my team and my coaching staff and my strength and conditioning coaches, and we're gonna do everything possible to get me ready. And then whenever Britt Brown says that I can play, then I'll play.
Boy, is he as big an a-hole as he seems just from watching him work with players?
No, he's actually like
he doesn't mean that. He's being sarcastic.
He's actually like a second father to me.
Like a second father. Britt has a great reputation among Cowboys players for looking out for their best interest and doing everything he can to prepare them, despite what Mosley just said.
I do love Britt, and if you tell him Mosley called him an a-hole, he would just come right back at me. But I mean,
and he's pumped up enough that he could throw you through the wall.
Who, Britt?
Oh yeah,
I could take Britt. He doesn't. I have a way bigger reach than he does. But now, I am kind of curious. What was the point last year? Now, you always obviously had hope, and you kept thinking. Was there any one period of time, whether it was with Britt or whether it was one single moment, maybe when you got on those resistance bands where we see players, sometimes that means, hey, they're ready to come back. What was the turning point for you where you said, okay, this is going to happen?
There were multiple points. I can't really pinpoint any specific date or anything like that or time, but we've been working at this for a while. A lot of it behind closed doors. But man, it's just a blessing to be here, to be a part of America's team. And, everything that the team's doing is attacking just each and every day, doing what you're supposed to be doing. And, for me, I'm just, I'm humble.
Jaylon, if you have to play with the AFO brace because of the drop foot, do you think it's possible to play the linebacker position, inside linebacker position, effectively with that with your level of skill?
What I can answer to that is that I'm not worried about a brace or a nerve or anything like that. And I'm focused on scheme and discipline, consistency, because that's the mark of greatness.
Are there any players who have had nerve injuries that you've talked to who have helped you to prepare for what's next and what the challenges are you face in this whole process? No,
I haven't talked to any players with with any serious type of injury like that. But I've relied on faith. I mean, there's been a lot of guys on the team that have been through a lot of injuries. You know what I mean? And hearing their approach and challenges that they faced, down moments, when they, how they bounce back, what do they do, you know what I mean? And after that, it's just bringing it to my own arsenal. And it helps when you have guys who believe in you.
People at the Star now say that you've never had a bad day out there. Like, you don't come in with a bad attitude, and you're not concerned about, what's happened in the past. And that's kind of the attitude we've gotten from you here. But is that true? Have you never had a bad day in all of this?
My worst day was the moment that it happened. That was my worst day, the moment that it happened. Because, for one, I knew that it wasn't just a tweak, it was a significant injury.
Right.
The initial thought is why? Why now? Why right now? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Last game, top 5 pick, all of that good stuff. And then, as you see me, going out, riding out on the cart, I'm like, okay, fix my face. It's going to be good. This is a plan. This is God's plan. And, from there on, it's just about, God having my back. And, this has literally been the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's made me a better man.
How so? You said that twice. So how has it made you a better person?
My approach on things. True adversity. It's allowed me to see things from a different perspective. This is allowing me to really appreciate the game more. My biggest fear was getting hurt. And now that that's happened, I don't fear anything. I'm good. I have a 100% faith in God. Just from a relationship standpoint, you know what I mean? Becoming a better listener, and you know what I mean? It's multiple aspects. I'm so thankful, that He's put me in a position to where I can impact lives. Like I said, because it was, broadcasted. one of my lowest moments in my life.
Yeah, it's been right out there for everybody to see. For folks that don't know, and we're talking to Jaylon Smith, Cowboys' former second-round pick, and we're going to now start seeing him on the field, one of the great linebackers to ever come out of Notre Dame. Some of those folks that you referred to that have sort of been in your camp, I'm fascinated with some of these guys. You obviously, the late Eugene Parker, you had involvement with him, and he... that was sadly too brief. And Ed, someone who covered him and covered players he represented for years, and so knows about him and his involvement with the Cowboys. But Roosevelt Barnes' name comes up. Yeah. The guy that a lot of the country found out when Caleb Swanigan, the kid out of Purdue, who was such a great player for Purdue, that Roosevelt Barnes basically stepped in and raised Caleb Swanigan from the time he was 13 years old. What of those kinds of folks, the impact they've made on your life?
Well, funny thing, a lot of people don't know, but I'm actually related to Eugene Parker and his family. Eugene's aunt is my grandmother. So from the beginning, I knew who my agent was going to be. Obviously, legally, you got to go about things the right way. But, when I entered the draft, it was a smooth process. And then, learning about his illness, his sickness, and, what was potentially going to happen, it was grieving, but just to see how he went about the whole process, he's just one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life. From Roosevelt Barnes being my agent now, Fort Wayne, Indiana, everybody knows everybody. You know what I mean? So I met Caleb when he first became his guardian and things like that, and to see where he's come, that's like my little brother. I'm rooting for him. I'm a huge Indiana basketball fan. Huge Indiana. I'm talking about Notre Dame, Indiana, Purdue Boilermakers. I grew up playing AAU basketball, so it was just a great feeling to see him, stay in Indiana for college, and this journey on making it to the NBA. I'm so proud of him. From everything he's accomplished, but it's definitely a close knit. Those guys have been tremendous in my life, and for me, wearing number 54, outside of the great Chuck Howley and Randy White, being able to wear that number proud. Roosevelt Barnes, he wore number 54 when he was in the NFL, so it's definitely a great thing.
This is the Doomsday Podcast. We know all about the great defenders and Cowboys history, Jaylon. You're in the right place when you speak reverently about these great former defensive players for the Dallas Cowboys. And hopefully, one day soon, you'll be considered in that very same group.
Did you see that picture of him and Randy White, the Manster? It was Randy still, is built.
I see Randy's at a lot of the games. I see him all the time.
Yeah. Had you heard a lot about him over the years, obviously, as a Hall of Famer? What was that like getting to meet him?
Yeah, it was a blessing. It was a blessing to be able to meet him. I didn't know he was going to be at the event, but as soon as I seen him, it was a no-brainer that I had to get a picture with him and shake his hand. We chopped it up for a little bit. He's just he's a great class act.
I'm sorry, I interrupted there. I apologize.
Yeah, we can cut that out later.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm apologizing to Jaylon, not to because I interrupted his thought.
You're good. You're good. I look up to those guys. Randy White, Chuck Howley. I Google those guys all the time.
Wow, that's impressive. What's it like to be in your situation with Jerry? Jerry's invested a lot. He's had to explain a lot, rationalize why he did this when many people think drafting you in the second round was a mistake. What's he like with you? Is he encouraging you all the time, or what's his behavior and interaction like with you?
Is he rubbing your leg?
Jerry's not a faith healer.
Man,
That's Dion.
Oh, Jerry, man, he's a great guy, man. You can tell he cares. He cares about about his players. I mean, other than that, it's just extreme excitement, and for me to be able to compete again.
I just wanted to tell you, by the way, your kid brother, basically Caleb Swanigan, he's working out, I think, with the Knicks. Tell him to go back to college. Tell him not to go do anything to not be in that organization. Okay.
Man, he doesn't care where he plays. He just wants his dreams to come true. Man.
Yeah. Well,
that's like you, right? You share that.
Absolutely. America's team, man. It's great feeling.
Boy, by the way, are you having been in Indiana and coming up in that hoops culture? Do you still think you have some game? I know you're focused on football right now. I mean, Rico Gathers, I watched him at Baylor. He was a great college player. Now, Dez talks a big game, and I'm sure he's pretty good as well. Do you still think maybe you're maybe one of the best ballers in the locker room there?
Oh, man, I know I got it in me. I got the hoop life in me, man. That's just, Indiana. That's what we do. You can't hoop, man. I don't know. I don't know if you belong, bro. I don't know if you can claim Indiana, but no, man. I'm so focused on competing every single day and taking it day by day and just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, just to be able to contribute to my team and it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling, man. I'm happy that the first day out there, I see my brother. My brother plays for the Cowboys too.
We know him well. Was running back. Yeah.
We're taking a break, and I seen him across the way. And I'm like, dang, it's a blessing. The first time we get to play on the same team with each other. I can only imagine how our parents feel.
Oh yeah, it is remarkable to watch the whole thing take place. Jaylon,
what a remarkable attitude, Jaylon Smith. I think we're hearing that really for the first time. So we've heard people say that.
I wish Ed had that attitude, quite honestly.
Well, maybe if I was working with better people like he is, I would have that attitude.
No,
if I was on a better team, Jaylon, I would have the same attitude you have. I would endure anything to perform.
Yeah.
But instead, I have this, and I just show up when I can.
Well, I can tell you guys are making it happen. And I'm blessed to be on this podcast with y'all right now, man. It's an honor.
Well, we were proud to have you, and we thank Michael.
Never thought Mosley could pull this off, Jaylon. I'm quite impressed.
Yeah, we're happy to have it. A lot of fans are very interested in you and
they
watching.
Really are. I think I told him off air that last year I'd be talking about the Cowboys on SportsCenter in a 13-3 season, and I bet I got more people asking me about Jaylon Smith's progress and what's he going to be and when's he going to contribute and how great will he be on that defense than I did really anything. Asked about Dak or Zeke or whatever they were doing in their remarkable season.
And the next thing, Jaylon, is, and this will be a good thing, at some point they'll be asking us, how did he let that tight end get open? That's the next next one.
Football right there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, we appreciate it, and we've enjoyed kind of watching your whole. I mean, I watched you like crazy in college, and hated what happened to you, but you've handled it with so much grace.
And to say that it was one of the best things that ever happened to him is a remarkable statement. All this time later,
I think he was talking about being on this podcast when he said that.
I was confused.
Yeah.
That's the second greatest thing that's happened to him. It'll move down to third when he runs out at Jerry World.
Yes.
They introduce him in his number 54 jersey.
Yeah, it'll be great. But okay, Jaylon, well, thank you very much for joining us, and we truly appreciate it. Look forward to meeting you in person. Okay,
and there might be a caricature. We have quite an artist. We've blown the whole budget, not on guest as you can tell, but on an artist that we have out of Cleveland who does these great drawings of our guests, and we'll be sure that you get a copy of yours.
Please, man. Anytime you guys see me, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate, man. I would love to meet you guys.
Well,
that will happen.
Yes,
that will happen this year.
We will do it soon. And there he goes, folks. Jaylon Smith, Dallas Cowboys second-year linebacker. Thank you, Jaylon.
Thanks, Jaylon.
Yes, sir. You guys take care.
And that was Cowboys' second-round linebacker Jaylon Smith. And, Ed, I have to say, listening to Jaylon, visiting with him, boy, there is an unbelievable amount of optimism. I think that may be something, obviously, he and Jerry Jones have in common. And there were a couple things about that interview that stood out to me. One of the main ones being when you brought up, which I thought was a great point, hey, your injury has played a significant role in both college coaches and big-time NFL candidates, almost making it okay to sit out bowl games, where it was looked down upon before. Even after everything Jaylon Smith's gone through, he still says, even if I knew I was going to have that injury, I would have lined up and played in that game. That is hard for me to get my arms around.
It's a remarkably foolish statement. I think we agree on that. Yeah. No, I mean, I think he's sincere when he says that. I don't doubt his authenticity in having that opinion. I mean, he also said that it's one of the best things that ever happened to him, an injury that could potentially, in the minds of some people in the NFL, keep him ever from playing a single snap in the NFL. And he's grateful that it happened because he's a person of faith. He likes the fact that he's created this opportunity for people to see what happened to him and for individual players like Christian McCaffrey, as we mentioned, Leonard Fournette, high draft picks both, to make their own decisions with a clear conscience about whether they should or shouldn't play in a bowl game, given the impact that can have on their individual careers. He is a different guy. You really see why people are captivated by the personality they see over at the Star. The guy working out diligently every day with no fanfare, with no reward of being, performing in a game and being cheered by hundreds of thousands of fans. He just does this in total anonymity. One of the top 5 linebackers, in the last 20 years, potentially, if he had stayed healthy, hasn't played a snap, and yet people are more intrigued by him in many regards than they are the guys who are on the field and making plays in a 13-3 season.
It's the same thing that makes NBA summer free agency almost bigger than the games. It's what makes the NFL draft in some ways bigger than the games at times. It's this thought of the unknown. And do the Cowboys have this future Ring of Honor candidate or Hall of Famer just sitting there on the sideline that they're going to bring in and he's going to be unbelievable? And I get what feeds it. It's that unknown. But with him, it's a special case. And I thought you brought some good things to the table in terms of these this general manager you quoted saying something along the lines, or you paraphrased him saying, this was truly the best linebacker?
Best linebacker he's ever scouted.
Yeah.
And a senior personnel director saying that he's a top 5 player in any draft in the last 20 years if he doesn't suffer that catastrophic knee injury. And I still think, based on the conversations that I've had, that most people do not have the optimism that Jaylon and Jerry Jones seem to share, that he's still going to eventually be, in a short space of time, an elite player in the NFL. Some people still don't think he's ever going to play, and I would say the larger percentage of the population in league front offices and among coaches believe that he may play at some point, but it's going to be in some compromised state. He's never going to be the player that he once seemed destined to be before suffering this injury. That he might be a very good player. He could even be an average or a less than average player. And you suggested, can you at 90% be better than players at 100% in the NFL? And he seemed not even willing to entertain that possibility because he's that focused on achieving his full potential.
I just feel like I relate to that question because I think even when I give about 50 to 60% effort, I'm as good as most broadcasters.
And just when do we get even that? This might be the one occasion where that's happened because I was very skeptical that you could deliver Jaylon Smith. I don't think he's been really that eager to talk about his physical state of being until he got closer to 100% and returned to the actual practice field and a padded practice where if he gets to that point, it's going to require an adjustment and a mindset, because how is he going to react when his knee is exposed to potential danger again, like he suffered in really a situation that he shouldn't have been injured? The play was ostensibly over when defender made contact, or the offensive player made contact with him, and he suffered this terrible injury. So I don't know what's going to happen to him, but you have to admire his attitude about the whole thing.
No, you know? I do.
I think it's interesting to me, and a little disappointing that he was really evasive about what specific improvement that there's been. What is he feeling in the nerve that's different than it was before? We've heard people say, well, he's got sensation in 3 or 4 of his toes now that he didn't have, and some doctors like Dr. Chow, former Chargers physician, who is really skeptical about Jaylon Smith's future in the NFL, expressed that was really not a significant development because it doesn't mean he's going to have control over his foot just because he can move his toes. So a little surprised and disappointed we weren't able to get more specific injury information from Jaylon on that.
I think he's probably been told not to shed any light on it and just said, let Jerry handle this.
That's never a good idea for a player, in my experience, to let Dr. Jerry handle the media on such things.
Boy, I like, too, that that Jaylon, I mean, do you realize now, and it's crazy because, I mean, now I wasn't really old enough to have watched him play, but I've gotten to know him, thank goodness, over the years, and I'm talking about Chuck Howley. It's been 40 years or 45 years since Chuck Howley was playing for the Cowboys, and I love that when some of these young players go, Chuck Howley, then talking about obviously number 54 that he shares with him. And then he said the Manster, Randy White. I mean, this is awesome. And he didn't say Bruce Carter, but he said
he has a sense of history.
Yes.
That is impressive. And Dak did the same thing. He was aware when you asked him, challenged him on the Doomsday. Where does that come from? What's the origin of our podcast nickname? He well knew that it was part of the Cowboys lore. Yeah. So that's impressive. They must get those right on the Wonderlic scores at the Combine. That's encouraging.
What really impressed me the most was Dak signing 37 footballs while talking to us. And like, seemingly his body language to me suggested not engaged, but his answers. You ever do those interviews and you go back or you're looking at a transcript and go, "Oh, he said that stuff."
Was good. Yeah, I didn't hear
Because
that.
the whole time, all I could see was that there were like 17 people around us. Boy, Jaylon though, just sitting at the house, I could even tell what he was doing there. He was he muted the game. I guarantee he was watching Boston and Cleveland in Game 4 of their series. When you hear this, that series will be over. By the way,
our podcast. Why would you do such a thing?
What's that?
Why would you date our podcast?
It's dated. It's okay. People will be fine with it. And Ed, this is the time. We got to wrap it up. You got to take another trip to Colorado. That's like become a weekly thing. But hey, next time, remind me. I want to hear about your time. You went to a golf tournament, a very, very cool thing. It's Tom Coughlin's charity, the J Fund. I want you to kind of just do a report on that, on your time there, what that was like, and whether you got any FaceTime with Tom Coughlin.
And I'll say yes when you ask me that question, and I'll give you the detail later. I'm curious to see who you'll deliver as your next guest after accomplishing this Jaylon Smith feat, which is one of epic proportions, because people don't know that you just cannot be counted upon in any way whatsoever, much less when you vow to go get a player who's sort of in hiding.
Yeah, I'll take a few weeks off, and then I'll be back.
So I have to get 3 or 4 more guys, and then you'll try again?
Yeah. Okay, I need about 2 or 3 more NFC East head coaches, and then I'll be ready to roll again. I want to remind everybody all the ways that you can listen to us: Stitcher, Google Play. Of course, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to us.
Why would you not subscribe?
No, you should have already.
Service.
It's free, and go to Apple Podcasts.
For free?
iTunes. Now, Ed, let me finish this. iHeartRadio is another one. All of these places. That was the 6th episode of...
Has it been a half a dozen already?
That was the 5th episode of the Doomsday Podcast, whichever one works. Frito Nation Productions. Great to be here. Great to be with our old buddy Mark Frito Friedman. Good night from North Dallas.
5th, 6th, whatever. Good night from North Dallas.
There are any number of reasons you might consider selling your home. To move closer to family, live within a smaller budget, or just wanting a change of scenery. Whatever your reasons, having to figure out all the various housing market trends in your area may not be what you signed up for. That's where an agent who is a Realtor comes in. Realtors have the expertise to help you find the right price and navigate the process to sell your home in a way that's right for you. That's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
You haven't heard about the McCrispy yet? Well, then, you probably haven't heard the sweet silence after the first crispy bite either. Go try it for yourself to hear the best nut sound you've ever heard.